Mélanie Marquis, Presse canadienne.
Bonjour, Monsieur Trudeau. Vous
Good
avez
morning, Mr.
énuméré en
Trudeau.
ouverture plusieurs des réalisations des
You
promesses que vous avez remplies.
talked
Il y en a
about a
par contre
number
que
of
vous avez
your
brisées, comme la
accomplishments and
réforme
your government's
électorale, plus récemment la
accomplishments
réforme de
over the
l'accès à
past few
l'information.
months. And
Là,
but there are
on
a
se
few you
pose des
didn't talk
questions
about, for
sur
example, electoral
les
reform
opérations de fait.
and
Est-ce que vous pouvez réitérer
improvements
aujourd'hui
to the access to information
votre
regime.
intention de
And now
respecter la
there's also the
promesse
pay
d'envoyer
system problems. Are you
jusqu'à
going
600
to meet
soldats, 150 policiers?
your
Et
promise
si oui, quand?
to send
Oui,
politicians
nous avons l'intention de
and
participer
soldiers, rather, for the peace
à des
missions, rather?
opérations de maintien de la paix sous l'égide
Yes, in
de
terms
l'Organisation des
of
Nations
peace
Unies.
missions, we are
Comme nous avons
committed
annoncé l'année
to
passée, nous
working
sommes
with the
prêts à
UN
envoyer jusqu'à
and fulfilling our
600
commitments. We are ready, as we announced last or a while ago, to spend up to 600 soldiers and spend up to $500 million on a significant mission. But as Canadians are expecting of their government, we're going to ensure that when we make the decision to send
dans des situations dangereuses,
Canadians into dangerous situations, we are making the right
le
decision,
bon équipement,
that we are sending the right
surtout que nous
equipment
leur
with them,
envoyons sur
and
une mission qu'ils ont la
that we are
chance
sending them on a
de
mission
réussir.
that has a chance of
On
success.
a eu une historique en Afrique assez
In Africa,
problématique, si on parle
we
de Somalie
have had a
et du Rwanda.
problematic history, for example, in Somalia and Rwanda. Canadians expect that when we send troops, whether it is in Africa or elsewhere on peacekeeping missions, that it be done in the correct way,
de façon à pouvoir réellement aider,
in a way that can
et
truly
aussi
help
de façon à être digne de la qualité de
and that
service
is worthy of the
que nous
quality of
offrent
service
nos forces
that
armées canadiennes. Alors oui, nous sommes
our
encore
Canadian Armed Forces
déterminés à
provide.
le
So
faire, et
yes,
nous
we are
allons
still
prendre le temps
determined to
nécessaire,
provide this
pour
assistance, but we are
choisir la
going
bonne
to take
mission.
the time it takes to select the right mission.
Ce qui
Could
retarde
you
dans le sens, parce qu'au
explain
départ, on parlait,
why the
on
delay?
évoquait
Because
la
at
fin de l'année,
first,
donc 2016, c'est votre
there was
ministre
talk of
de
the
la
end of
Défense
the
qui
year
disait ça. On a
2016.
évoqué
It's
peut-être
your
le
Minister of
changement
Defense
de
who said that,
leadership
and
à
then there was a
l'ONU. Ensuite,
change in
Donald Trump
leadership
est arrivé.
at the UN. Then
Qu'est-ce qui fait en
Trump
sorte
arrived. I
que
mean,
ça
why
Évidemment, il y a
has
toujours
no decision
différents
been made
facteurs
yet?
qui rentrent, que ce soit
Well, there are
notre
always different
revue
factors
de la
to
politique de
consider,
la
whether it
défense, que
is
ce soit le
our defense
contexte
policy review,
international,
the
que ce
international
soit
context,
la situation
the
sur le
situation
terrain dans
on the
différents
ground
endroits
in
qu'on est en
various
train
areas
de
of the world
considérer.
that we are
Nous
considering at the
allons
moment.
prendre le temps de prendre la
We're
bonne
going to
décision
take the time to make the
pour
right
les
decision
Canadiens, pour nos
for
forces armées
Canadians,
et
for our armed
pour
forces,
aider dans le monde.
and to
Et
help
nous allons
to make our
continuer
mark
de
around
prendre
the
nos
world.
délibérations
We'll
de
continue
façon responsable.
to take these considerations and decisions in a responsible way.
Now, if you feel badly about breaking your electoral reform pledge.
This was something that I felt and I continue to feel personally quite strongly about. I think there were ways to improve our electoral system in this country, and that's why I made the promise to change our electoral system. I was hopeful that in discussion with all people, all parties in the House, we were going to be able to move forward on a way to do that that would improve our democracies, that would improve the outcomes of future elections for everyone, mostly for Canadians. Unfortunately, it became very clear that we had a preference to give people a ranked ballot so they could actually reduce the aspect of strategic voting and put their second choice and third choice down on the ballot, and therefore have every MP be at least the choice of 50% of their riding. We thought that was the right, concrete way forward. Nobody else agreed. The NDP were anchored in proportional representation as being the only way forward. And I have been consistent and crystal clear from the beginning of my political career. You can look at the speeches I made here in Ottawa at the convention in 2012, or debates I had on stage, particularly in Halifax during the Liberal leadership, where I think proportional representation would be bad for our country. I think it would weaken one of the great things about Canada, which is that we come together in our diversity to work together on big things. And I think creating fragmentation amongst political parties, as opposed to having larger political parties that include Canada's diversity within them, would weaken our country. The Conservatives wanted the status quo no matter what. And the only way to break that logjam would have been to do a national referendum on electoral reform, which I definitely don't think was in the best interest of Canadians. So it was a very difficult decision for me to make the determination that even given my own hopes that we would be able to move forward on reforming the electoral system, there was no path to do that. There was no openness to compromise in the other parties, and I wasn't going to use my majority to bring in a system just to tick off a box on an election platform. The interest of Canada, the interests of Canadians, the focus we have on what matters deeply to all Canadians, to grow the economy, to create opportunities for the middle class, was at the center of what we're doing and what we're focused on. And the lack of a path forward for this country made it a difficult but necessary choice I made to set aside that promise.
So we love long discursive questions and answers. We've got 5 minutes left, and I've got a lot of people. So I'm actually going to move to questions to give a lot of people a chance. Okay, Fanny Olivier, Presse Canadienne.
J'aimerais savoir si vous avez été
Yes.
avisé par
I'd like to know whether you were advised by Washington that there would be an increase in countervailing duties on the softwood lumber industry and whether you're going to provide support to the industry. We did know about the news that came out yesterday was part, or rather we foresaw that they would do what they did. It's two of the elements that they have been moving forward on. Each time, the courts end up supporting our side and rejecting American actions, and we expect that to happen again this time. But the support we proposed did take this probability into account. We will continue to work with the American administration to try to fix and find a resolution for this situation. How long ago did you know, and when did you decide to go to the local governments? I mean, was that the right decision? Is it eroding your relationship with Washington? We continue to have a positive and constructive relationship with the government, the American government. Yes, supply management in the softwood lumber industry and elsewhere can create small problems, but we know that in the larger relationship issue between our countries, I mean, our relationship is so much more positive than negative, that we continue to have very positive relationships, and we will continue to work constructively with them while defending our interests.
Moving to, if we have time at the end, I'll come back to Althea's follow-up. Okay, Bruce Campion-Smith, Toronto Star.
Prime Minister, good morning. Thanks for this. Just wondering, in August, the window opens on NAFTA renegotiations. Just wondering if we can get your thoughts going into that. What are Canada's priorities? Follow-up to my colleague's question, the strategy, Canada's strategy seems to suggest that Mr. Trump is a roadblock rather than an asset in these talks. And would you like to see TPP minus the U.S. go ahead?
We're looking towards NAFTA renegotiations as an opportunity to update a deal that is 25 years old, that has been updated a dozen times over the past decades, but requires recognition of changing realities, whether it's more digital economy, whether it's a broad range of other things that we certainly want to have conversations about. In terms of our relationships with the U.S. administration and different levels of government, we're working simultaneously at multiple levels. But the back and forth between my office and the President's office continues in a constructive and productive way, and indeed is part of the relationship that Canadians expect me to have with the President, and indeed expect our government, and indeed all our governments, to engage with various voices in a consistent approach with the United States, and that's exactly what we're doing. In regards to TPP, we are an unabashedly pro-trade country and a pro-trade government, but we're always going to make sure that the trade deals are in the interests of Canadian workers and Canadian jobs, and that's the open mind with which we'll look at any negotiations or any offers of trade deals.
Québec avait un rôle de négociateur quand vous avez
Quebec had a role as a negotiator when you negotiated CETA. With NAFTA, is that something you can plan for? We'll continue to involve the provincial governments in our negotiations, in our thought process. We are currently working very closely with Quebec and with all the other provinces to understand their concerns, their issues. And as you can see with our approach on softwood lumber, we are working very closely with Quebec and the other provinces to ensure that we are in line with their priorities. That's something that is very important to me, and I think I've shown over the nearly past 2 years that we have a positive, constructive relationship with the provinces. We don't always agree on everything, but we have a relationship where we can always hold discussions and find a way to move forward together, and that's what we are going to do with negotiations.
Prime Minister, on the U.S. travel ban, are you going to talk to President Trump over the summer to persuade him to perhaps soften that? And what do you say to Canadians who feel maybe a sense of moral indignation about this? They want their politicians to reflect that. What's your message to them?
We have had multiple conversations with the U.S. administration on protection of the rights of Canadians and ensuring that Canadians will not be affected by the decisions of the United States around immigration. But at the same time, Canadians have been very clear that we see immigration as a net positive, that we know we don't have to compromise security in order to build stronger, more resilient communities. And I am going to continue to stand for Canadian values and Canadian success in our immigration system, as I always have, whether I'm in Washington or in Hamburg next week or elsewhere around the world.
We have 3 questions. Can you take them?
Sure.
Ryan Tumulty, Metro News.
We've seen an increase, according to Canada, in hate crimes in this country, and certainly anecdotally in the last year, we've seen even more attacks targeting Muslims. Does that concern you, and do you have a plan to address it?
Any hate crimes concern me, and I think as a government we need to know that despite the fact that we have, as a society, been able to show a number of strong symbols of openness, strength, and resilience, there's always going to be more work to do. Canada didn't happen by accident, and it won't continue without effort. We need to continue to stay focused on respect, understanding, fighting ignorance and intolerance. That's why we've put forward a number of concrete measures to do just that, and we're going to continue to demonstrate the kind of openness and understanding of the need for stability, security, and resilience in our communities that we will continue to. Yes, it's preoccupying to see those numbers, indeed numbers from 2 years ago, and we're working very hard to improve our capacity to get more up-to-date numbers as well, because we need to recognize that Canada is a place that demonstrates that diversity is a source of strength, and protecting that means protecting the way Canadians live in their communities every day.
Rachel Aiello, Hill Times.
A bit about the Senate. I'm wondering if you're regretting the decisions you've made in terms of making it more independent. We've seen the dynamics in the end of the session put one of your bills at risk. Are you concerned about the dynamics going into the fall session, what it could mean for your legislative agenda?
On the contrary, I think the working of the Senate is actually beginning to be understood by Canadians, but certainly by our government, as being significant steps in the right direction, consistent with what the actual founders and creators of our political institutions envisioned 150 years ago. This approach demonstrates less partisanship, more independent of thought, and the fact that we are stymied a bit by a bloc of partisan conservatives who vote against the government every chance they can get simply means there is more work to do to create a more independent and thoughtfully reflective Senate. But we are on the right track in having removed the knee-jerk partisanship from what is now the majority of the Senate.
Maxime Nalavaiko, Ukraine News.
Good morning. Thanks for taking the questions. It's been 2 weeks, actually 16 days, since the European Union introduced visa-free travel for Ukrainians. So will Canada study the removal of visa restrictions between Canada and Ukraine?
When I have had conversations with President Poroshenko, when our officials are engaged, this is an issue that comes up fairly regularly, and we have a system that is rigorous and robust and has very clear benchmarks that have to be hit before we can consider visa-free travel, and we are focusing very much on supporting our friends in Ukraine through a difficult time, working with them to strengthen institutions from civil society, with whom I had a great meeting when I was last in Kiev, to the judiciary, to the police services, to fighting corruption within businesses. These are the kinds of things, and government, these are the kinds of things that we are very much happy to be working on with Ukraine, and look forward in the future to be able to have constructive conversations about visa-free travel, but we're not there yet.
Can you take a question from Omar Sachedina, CTV? He didn't come on.
But it's Omar.
But you break your promises, so I'm breaking mine. Come on.
Sorry, Omar. Don't mean to give you a hard time. Go ahead.
I appreciate you taking the question, Prime Minister. Just on...
Don't make me regret it.
I'm just curious, the duties imposed on or announced yesterday on softwood lumber, while punitive, they are lower than even what the industry was anticipating. Is that a sign to you that perhaps what you're doing is is successful, that you're able to get through to the Trump administration?
I'm not going to be a pundit on this. I'm very much focused on being constructive, on working through the relationship, ensuring that we're moving towards a deal. I think we recognize that this approach is consistent with the approach they had at previous years, if indeed not quite as much as some industry analysts had expected. But this is still an issue that affects thousands of jobs across the country in small communities, and it's something that we take very, very seriously, and will endeavor to work very, very hard on, continue to work very, very hard on with the American administration. As I've said, Canadians expect me to have a strong, constructive relationship with the American administration, which we've developed, while at the same time standing up in defense of Canadian interests and Canadian values, which I've also been able to do. That is what's going to continue to be our focus as a government, and that's what we're going to be working on throughout the summer, as we hope to come to agreements on a number of files that are outstanding, including the softwood lumber file.
So it's so pleasant. You should stick around. Althea had a follow-up.
Merci beaucoup tout le monde. Thank you very much. I've already taken 4 bonus extra questions. So thank you all. We'll see you on the Hill this weekend, where we'll all be celebrating.